All right, so here we are. I'm Tony,
I'm Vernell.
and this is our first time doing like a web something,
Web / Facebook / soon to be Twitter.
all that good stuff.
Yes.
And so the title, after we get through all that, is YBM, which is Young, Black, and Married. And our goal for YBM is to discuss those topics of course, marriage in the young black community. We did have an age, but we decided to do away with the age because you could be 18 or you could be 60 and still feel like you're young.
Yes.
So we're not going to put an age on it, but yeah, you can take that young as you see fit, but that is it, YBM. And so the topics that we're going to discuss are going to be like those, we won't say taboo topics, but it's those topics that are kind of difficult to bring up. You may not know how to approach your spouse and or your mate about those topics. And so we're going to discuss them, and maybe it's something that you could watch with your significant other, your spouse, because it's a young, black, and married. So with your spouse, and as you watch us talk about it, maybe it'll spark the discussion to happen between you and your spouse, which will kind of be like that segue into it. So some of the topics that we're going to discuss, I got my handy dandy
Notebook.
yes, are like love, marriage, sex,
Kids, in-laws, and money, and also intimacy.
yes, because sex is not necessarily intimacy. You can have sex without being intimate.
And you can be intimate without having sex.
Correct.
So it's important to speak on both.
Yes. So those are going to be some of the topics, just kind of as a guideline of how we're going to roll. But actually, this is going to be a show that involves our viewing audience. So you guys can submit stuff to us, and we'll try to bring some of those topics up in our future shows, and kind of again spark that discussion between us, because we don't know anything. And in a minute here, we're going to give you our background, but we don't know everything. And so this is not like, a counseling or like a how-to. It's just more of a forum. As my wife stops choking. A forum so that those topics can be discussed, and we can. We'll do it and then kind of spark it amongst everyone else.
Exactly.
So all that being said, that's the foundation of our show. So who the heck are Tony and Vernell?
Good question, Mr. Proctor.
So let me answer. So we were married, or not were, because we still are. We got married on August 21st, 2006. After a very eventful year and a half. Yes, we were high school sweethearts for a short period of time, and then I went to New Orleans, and that didn't happen.
Well, okay, that we went to New Orleans. We're from Maryland.
Yes.
So therefore, going to New Orleans was a big deal.
Yes.
So you just saying going to New Orleans, it's like, we live in somewhere in Louisiana.
Okay. So I went to school in New Orleans, and our boyfriend-girlfriend type of situation didn't make it to Louisiana.
No.
So fast forward to 2004.
And you and your time frames. Okay. He graduated in 1999 and went to college.
Then you're going to tell everybody my age.
I graduated in 2000. So therefore, after he left in 99.
Yes, left in 99. And then fast forward to 2004 and call out of the blue, to say hey. And
never stopped talking since then.
Never stopped talking since November. Actually, that was October of 2004. And then November of 2004, I came home, dealt with my family, had to be that supportive son. And then we decided to try our relationship over again.
On November 20th, 2004.
Yep. And then I actually went back to New Orleans and packed all my stuff up and came back to Maryland.
Yes. That was in January.
In January, yes.
Of 2005.
Yes. And then we were in Maryland and we had an apartment.
No. You lived...
Well, we got an apartment.
In
okay,
April.
we don't need to go through it. We had an apartment, and then we wanted to buy a house, and weren't interested in spending over $500,000 in Maryland, so we opted to come to Charlotte.
One thing I do want to say that I think is very important that people know is that I had a daughter with a previous relationship that Tony stepped up and became her daddy. I think he didn't meet her until she actually turned 1. So he's been in her life since she's 1, and she's now 8. So I think that's also another good topic we could speak on with.
Like blended families.
Blended families, yes.
Yes. Awesome. So yes, we moved to Charlotte, and actually about a year ago, it was March 2006. I'm sorry. 6 years ago next month. There we go. Whatever.
Yes, there you go. Got it.
And we've been in Charlotte
ever since.
Yes. And of course we have our one daughter, and then we have 2 sons. So we are the parents of 3.
Yep.
Which is quite an adventure.
Yes. To say the least.
Yes. So that's our background.
Yes.
Does that give enough information about our background?
Yeah.
Great. I'm not interested in telling our entire story. We can be here for
forever. Yes.
A week or 3. So our first topic, actually, I think we can bring up something that we heard about in a marriage seminar service or something like that Friday night,
right?
Which was submission.
Yeah.
And so the topic was wives submitting themselves to their husbands, but then also husbands having to submit themselves to their wife.
Right.
Which is not the norm. It's mostly like women submit yourselves to your. Women submit yourselves to your husband, and then that's it. And so people think, well, you submit means you just like bow down and it's like some type of slave and master type of relationship, but that's not the way that it was intended to be.
Right.
I guess we should also mention that we are Christians.
Oh, yeah.
So we will have a lot of biblical references in it. So
we're not gonna be Bible beaters.
Yeah, we won't beat you over your head.
No, but
we will use
there'll be a big influence.
That as our foundation for a lot of stuff that we discuss.
Right.
And so it was Ephesians 5 and 26. I'm gonna go to my Bible right here, and so it was about submission.
Right.
And so, what are your thoughts on submitting to so lovely husband of yours?
Submission to me at first was it kind of had a negative connotation to it, where I felt like whatever my husband said I had to do, like no questions asked. I had no opinion to it. But I learned differently quite quickly after marriage, especially being around other newly married couples and having friends who've been married just as long as we have and have basically the same background. We have, we go through our talks, and Tony and I have always been to marriage conferences also. And so to me, submission is more of which is very hard for a woman. So I think God is very strategic in his teaching. He always wants us to do basically what's the opposite of what our flesh wants. And so women, we're very headstrong. We want to be able to be controlling. We want to be the reason that this is what happens. This is what needs to be done. But there can't be 2 heads in a household. And I've learned that watching other marriages and influences from my life, so that there cannot be 2 heads in a household. So I don't have a problem submitting, which means not saying yes sir and doing everything he says, because I do know I have an equal say in all our decisions and everything that happens in this household. I do know that, but submission is more of that allow my husband to be the man in the relationship, to take lead, and for me just to fall back and trust that he will guide me and his family to the right place where God led him to, leads him to. So it's not, submission to me now is not nearly as a negative thing. It's more, actually it's kind of like a weight being lifted. Like I don't have to bear all those issues as much as he would, being the head. Leaders have to bear so much weight and the followers really don't have to do much. Just trust, basically, that the leader will get them where they need to be. So I'm kind of happy that I don't have to do all that, because being the leader of my kids, being that mom, that's hard enough. But having that, I get a sense of relief that I don't have to take up on all these issues, and that can allow you to take my hand and just lead me to where we need to be. Okay. Might sound selfish, but oh well.
So I want to clarify that it's actually Ephesians 5:22.
Okay.
I'm not sure where I got 26. Actually, I was looking at 26 earlier. So I'm gonna read it, okay, so that everyone understands what it is. So, and this is from the Amplified version. Wives, be submissive, and adapt yourselves to your own husbands as a service to the Lord. And then it goes on to say, verse 23, for the husband is head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, himself the Savior of his body. And then 24, as the church is subject to Christ, so let wives also be subject in everything to their husbands. Verse 25, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So that's 22 through 25. And so an interesting component in there is that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church.
And we learned that Friday.
Yeah. Which is very interesting, because it's to love, obviously, is a difficult thing for men to do. Like, innately, we don't love. And like the whole component about love and respect. So a man, I can respect. I'll respect authority all day long. But that's my genetic makeup. Whereas a woman has to, they can love all day long, but respect for them is a little difficult. So it's those things that God pushes us to do things that are not normal. Right. And so for me to respect, I respect my wife. I respect her as a woman. I respect her as a mother of my children. To love, I love her, but showing love is not natural. And I'm not saying natural, but it's not like, it's difficult for men to do, to show that affection. Yeah, I love my wife. I'll kiss her in public. I'll do all those things, but it's doing the things that are out of the norm. I'll use an example today. I was in the store and I was ready to go. I got everything that I needed, and I walked by the yogurt aisle, and I was like, I wonder if my wife might want some yogurt. So, knowing in the back of my mind, okay, doing this whole just because and show her that I'm thinking about her, and yogurt is such a small thing to be like, I bought you yogurt. This is my way of loving you.
I don't think you knew how huge I was, cause Friday when we talked about just doing things just because that really does show that you love the other person when you do things just because, not because you were asked to do something.
Right.
So when you did call and ask me if I wanted yogurt, it kind of threw me off. Like, why? I want to be like, why? Why you give me yogurt?
So I'm trying to.
But that did touch me. That made it was special.
So stepping out of my shell to do those just because things.
Right.
And again, I was doing about, okay, you can't do that fast in a shopping cart, but we were doing about 3 miles per hour, and we backed up and was like, okay, hold on, let's take a look at the yogurt. So as my son is trying to pick up chips, I'm getting yogurt. So that was my way of, okay, let me regroup and let me step outside of my norm and do the whole showing of love thing and doing a just because thing. And then the flip of that is that women are to respect their husbands.
Yeah.
Which of course is not something that is easy. No. But in order to respect someone, there has to be some type of acknowledgement, or you have to trust them.
Right. And I think that's one thing that women have a hard time doing, is trusting somebody else. Because we always want to say, if things don't happen the right way unless we do it ourselves. So it's kind of hard to give up that trust, to know that our spouse or anybody will do it the way that we like it to be done. So, but yeah, respect is a hard thing, because when women have, or wives have, their issues with their spouse, or something went wrong, or an argument happened, and we're quick to say, my husband is this, my husband is that, and that's not showing respect at all. As opposed to saying, I'm gonna pray for him, regardless of what happened, regardless of how mad I am, regardless of how I'm feeling flesh-wise. To respect him, I need to not talk down about him. No matter what happens, not talk down about your spouse, about your husband. That's showing respect. And showing respect is also praying for them and praying for them and making and hope and asking God to fix whatever the issue was. So it's a hard deal for women to respect. But once we can trust you, or once we can trust the spouse or the husband, it's easily given. But once that trust is broken, the respect is gone at the same time. Like, it's kind of that goes hand in hand. As you said.
Do you think that it can be rebuilt?
Yeah, I definitely think that trust and respect can be rebuilt, but it has to be, both parties will have to want to. Both parties have to work at it. Both parties will have to communicate openly and not put a wall up, or just just say enough just to get just not to be fully open, basically. Not just to say enough to try to suffice the other person, but say things or communicate and say what's on your mind. Because if you don't, if you're just saying enough or just saying what the other person wants to hear, you're not really fixing the problem. It's going to come back again later. So it's better always to just put all the cards on the table and work on it at that time. And if both parties can say, hey, this really, we can work this out, then it's definitely a possibility. Now, it's not saying it's going to be easy, but it's a possibility. But prayer definitely will lead you to the right direction, good or bad. Of course, we always we want everybody to try to work everything out. Unfortunately, we do know that circumstances do happen where you just can't, for whatever reason. It could be a mutual decision that, we got married based on the wrong foundation, but prayer definitely will help you navigate which direction to go. And if you are truly true to yourself and true to the relationship, when you pray to God, God's never going to give the husband one answer and the wife another answer that leads them to two different directions. Whatever, it might be two different answers, but always lead them to the same path, on the same path to the same destination. What was that Bible verse that says that how can we walk in two different directions and end up at the same destination? Well, that's not what the Bible verse says, but that's what the translation of it basically means.
Probably look that one up.
Yeah, I looked that one up. I wrote it down. So, but yeah, but back to your original question was I do think that once trust and respect has been broken, you can definitely get it back. It's just gonna take some time and some prayer and some work between both parties. The one who broke the trust and the one who has to open up and trust again.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, great.
Excuse me.
Don't choke.
Thanks. I'm trying not to.
So that's our first episode.
Awesome.
Of course, it's our first one, so I'm sure people are gonna be like, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this.
But like again, we said that we are open to criticism. So
yeah, we'll welcome it. We'll welcome the suggestions, the constructive criticism, the charitable. I'm just kidding. No charitable contribution.
No.
But it is our first one, and it's something that we're trying. It's something that's outside of our comfort zone.
Right, but something we'll be very passionate about.
Very passionate, yes.
What he said, 75% of marriages end in divorce, and we are determined.
All right, so there was a extremely awkward cut that just happened because of technical difficulties. I'll work on that, make sure it doesn't happen next time. Awesome. But we were pretty much at the end anyway. We were just kind of wrapping up. And so we'd like to end our show with a question to you, our audience. And so my question to the fellas, and this week we'll probably split it up. There might be some weeks where it'll be a combined question, but because we're talking about the whole submission and the love and respect. To the husbands, my question is, how do you show that you love your wife? You can, however it is that you do it every day, or if it's something even as small to me but big to my wife, of picking up yogurt. I mean, even if you want to leave that and let us know, well, you know, I was just cruising along and I decided to buy my wife a brand new
car.
Benz. So I mean, if you bought Benz, then don't put that, because you're gonna make me feel bad about buying yogurt. But whatever. And so your question to the wives is,
and my question to the wives is, how do you show your husbands that you respect them? Now it's easy to show them you love them by, you know, doing, of course, our wife, we do these, you know, making sure the house is clean and he has something to eat when he gets home from work, and kids are dealt with, and the nightly things, and but outside of that, how do you show them that you respect them? So you can leave those comments, questions, other questions you may have, and also any constructive criticisms you may have on 3 of our with 3 panels, I guess.
yes.
You call it.
So we have Facebook,
Yep.
which I'm not sure how interactive that's going to be, but I'll look into that. But it's YBM, Young, Black, and Married, in parentheses. And then we have our Twitter page, which is brand new, of course, because it's our first episode, which is YBM, the number 4 ever. And then we have our email address, which is YBM, the number 4 ever at gmail.com.
Right.
And then we have YouTube, obviously, where people are viewing this, which is YBM, the number 4 ever.
And you can leave comments at the bottom.
Yes, at the bottom.
You can subscribe at the top. Everybody does it on YouTube. Like, just subscribe here. Okay.
We'll get that.
Yeah.
And then if anyone's out there and they want to be like, you know what? I love this, and I want to do some graphic design or some opening or closing music or anything to make our show that much better, we welcome it.
Yes, please.
Come right on.
Yes.
And of course, we'll throw you in the credits and get you some love there.
Of course.
So that's it for our first episode.
Yes.
Which I think is probably somewhere about 25 minutes or so. So I think we're right in the middle of our 15, 20 to 30-minute window. It just depends on how things go as to how
it was just a little longer because we had to give you an intro of who we are.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to start talking and y'all be like, who y'all?
Right.
So that's only why.
So that's it. YBM Forever Twitter, YBM Forever at gmail.com, and then of course our YBM Forever on YouTube.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
And our schedule, our goal is to be every Sunday night.
Every Sunday night. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So every Sunday night, and in the event that we have a short 5 or 10-minute video, it's because there's some other activity that's needed to happen, and it's getting late. You got me? She might start turning red, but it's all good. So with that, we're out.
Bye.
And we can close our show with the kiss.
Yes, please. I love you.